Hey, what's up guys, TheJordude here, back again with another Shadowverse video. So this is going to be another one of those collaboration videos with GameAI with meta-analysis on what we're currently seeing in the rotation meta for Shadowverse. So it's been about over a week now since Chronogenesis came out, portalcraft came out, and rotation came out. So a lot of changes happened to the meta, and we'll just kind of go over what's the best decks to play on ladder right now and have a look at some of the deck lists. So if you guys don't know GameAI's website, you can go check them out. I'll have the link down below in the description. The sites are originally in Japanese. However, if you're using a browser like Google Chrome, they have the translating function, which comes in handy because then you could get a general understanding of what things are going on in English. However, sometimes translations could get a little bit wonky at times. So in Tier 1, what we see here is Mysterious Witch. This is basically Dirt Rune, or Burn Rune, however you would like to call it. So the deck list, I had a look ahead of time for the tier 1s. They're kind of out of date. They didn't update the actual deck list on here, so I'll just show you the decks I have right now for them. So for Dirt Rune, this is probably more or less a common build that you would see for Aggro Rune, Aggro Burn Rune, Dirt Rune. So yeah, this is generally the really simple build, not really any tech cards into it. New cards, of course, are like Chain Lightnings, Grand Summoning are really good in this deck. There are various ways you can build it. Some people have added in some more followers, such as Goblins, Lyrios, and been playing around with the spell ratios and things like that. But this is like generally what you're seeing. But as we can see, Dirt Rune is a tier 1 deck at the moment, and you can see this when you're playing on ladder. A lot of people are running Dirt Rune, Burn Rune, just because it's so good. It's quite consistent, quite fast deck to play, so you can climb fast and it's efficient. So this is probably one deck that might be on the lookout on side games that they might possibly nerf this month. So keep a lookout on cards that they might consider nerfing, things like Wizardess of Oz or Master Mage Levi, Magic Illusionist. Those cards could potentially get nerfed this month just because Burn Rune's been doing so well. The next deck, Lamp Dragon. Lamp Dragon is Ramp Dragon. So if we go back, going back here, I have a Ramp Dragon deck, right? And this is pretty much what people are playing. So Ramp Dragon, after the rotation and Chronogenesis, nothing really changed. The Isla, the 3-drop Isla got rotated out, so now we have the 2-drop as the replacement. Not as good, but still a good card to have for the extra play point. And that's pretty much the only change. The other change is like Azi, the Haka, replaced Genesis Dragon. Sometimes Azi's better, sometimes he's worse. But yeah, essentially Ramp Dragon's pretty unchanged and still tier 1. It was tier 1 before Chronogenesis came out, and it's still tier 1 now, just because Dragon's so good at ramping effectively, and then their big threats have such a big impact. Like Bahamut's super powerful right now, especially right now in rotation. And Isurfil is actually really good right now as well, and a lot of decks are including Isurfil and Sahaquil in their decks. Not only just Dragon, sometimes like Control Force, Neutral Rune, that kind of stuff, Haven. The third deck we see in tier 1 is Midrange Necro. So of course Midrange Shadow is still tier 1. It didn't get hit that hard from rotation. We still have Demon Lord Ector, which is like the best card in the deck. Same as Immortal Thane, very powerful card in the deck. And Mid-Shadow, I would say, even got stronger because they were given Underworld Ruler Aisha, which is basically a better version of Albert, but for Shadowcraft, and Skull Ring, which is really good. So like Shadow lost Bone Chimera, but Skull Ring is debatably just better because you get a 2-drop after 2 turns from the reanimate effect, so it's really, really good. So this is the build that I'm running currently. However, there's a lot of flexible stuff. As you can see, I'm running cards like Bone Bug. This could be replaced out. I don't have Ceres of the Night. Some people play around with your Necro Assassins, your Prince of Catacombs, the number of Old Owls and Skeleton Prince. Old Owl is actually really good right now in this meta too, in rotation, because there's a lot of mid-range Shadow, so it's great in the mirror match. It's decent against Dirt Rune, but Dirt Rune's a bad matchup. And it's good against portalcraft, good against aggro forest. So Old Owl, super powerful card right now, good against mid-range sword too. Moving on to tier 2, we see portalcraft is the mid-range version of it, so that is the artifact deck, and we can actually just check out the link here for their deck list because that is up to date. or more or less up to date. So this is the build they have for, or they're featuring for Artifact Portalcraft. And there's a lot of variances in Portalcraft lists. A lot of people are experimenting with different cards, and that's understandable because it's a new class, so the deck is still being refined. To this day, it's still being refined. So as you can see in this one, it doesn't have cards that I play in it, like Biofabrication or Meta Production. Instead, it's running like the Cut, it's running Legacy in there, 3 of them. So there's a lot of different ways you can build it, but Midrange Artifacts is a pretty good deck, and it's just very reliant on drawing your Deus Ex Machina, because if you don't have that, then you kind of just run out gas, you lose the game. So if you draw Machina every time, like if you knew you were going to draw Deus Ex Machina every time to play on like turn 6 or turn 7, I'm pretty sure Portalcraft would be tier 1. The bad matchup is, of course, Dirt Rune, Burn Rune. You can't really deal with all that aggro, you don't have that sustain. So that's the bad matchup, and that's part of the reason why Runecraft is tier 1 right now. Next up, we see a Forest deck, and it's a White Wolf version. We actually don't see Aggro Forest on this list. I do think Aggro Forest will eventually make it onto the tier ratings, but right now it's not. So this is the build that they're featuring for Elephant OTK, and there's a lot of variations to this deck as well, a lot of flexible cards. So some people are running Jungle Warden, some are not, some are messing around with the number of White Wolves, Elf Queen. So there's a lot of different variations with a couple card changes. However, more or less, this is kind of like what you're going to be seeing for Elephant decks. But yeah, Elephant OTK is pretty powerful deck. It's good against Portalcraft, it's good against, I would say it's good against Dragon, depending how fast they ramp up. It's pretty good against, yeah, just basically the slower matchups. It does struggle against Dirt, Burn Rune, again, wider tier 1. Midrange Shadow could be hard. So that's why they're running 3 Cassiopeas to help with those matchups. Next off, we see Midrange Sword here. They don't have a picture for the deck list, but yeah, Midrange Sword, they got the new card Arthur. So Arthur is quite powerful because you can flood your board with a bunch of 2-drops. Hopefully they don't clear it, and you can get a lot of damage in. But Sword, just like always that class, they're just trying to get on board. Always going to have bad matchups like Dragon that just clears your board all the time, or Shadow that's really sticky on the board. It's hard matchup. So that's why I like Sword's only in tier 2, just because they're so focused on just trying to get followers on the board, and like the tier 1 decks all are able to deal with Sword decks quite easily. Original Dragon, this refers to PDK Dragon. So they actually have a PDK Dragon list on here, which is quite cool. I actually don't see too much PDK on ladder. However, they do rate it as a tier 2 deck, and I do know that Japanese players do like to play their PDK Dragon. So it's up there on tier 2. You guys can have a closer look at the deck list on their website, of course. And yeah, PDK Dragon, they got some support. They got the new legend, the Zernitra is a great support for PDK Dragon, as well as Dragon Horde. They got the really good card for PDK Dragon. So they did get some support this expansion, and they might get more support in the future, who knows, right? Especially once like the big stuff for Ramp Dragon gets rotated out, maybe PDK Dragon might just be the better option in the future. Makai Kuronose Dragon made it onto the list. So this is actually the Aldos and Chronos OTK Dragon deck that I've actually featured in the video. So they made it on as a tier 2 deck. It's not as consistent as, definitely not as consistent as Ramp Dragon. However, if you ramp up and you draw your Chronos, then it's a really fun deck to play, and it could be really effective when you draw the right cards in order. So this is the build for that, and I did make a video on this, so you guys can have a look at that if you want to see some deck and gameplay action with this deck. Next up, we see Vengeance Blood on tier 2. This is actually kind of a surprise to me, because I don't really see much blood on ladder. If I do see blood, I usually just beat them. Blood right now didn't get too much good of a support in Chronogenesis, I believe, and a lot of the good cards got rotated out. So Control Blood pretty much lost all their good cards. Vengeance Blood lost good cards like Diabolic Drains, Revelations, Righteous Devil. So there's a lot of cards that Blood lost. And looking at this build, they are it's kind of interesting. They don't run Kerberos in the deck that they featured. Instead, they're running Nact. But yeah, I just don't think Vengeance Blood is that good. Sometimes you could cheese wins off them, or you could play like aggro or neutral blood. But it's a lot less powerful than it was pre-rotation. So Blood, if you want to play it, you could go check out this Vengeance Blood deck. It's the only blood deck that made it onto the tier list. So Vengeance Blood, I think, is probably the best option if you were to play a blood deck. Finally, the last deck we see on here is Church Aegis Bishop. So Haven, and this is basically featuring the Summit Temple and Heavenly Knight build of the deck. I made a video on this one as well, and this is the deck list that I'm currently playing. And I do really think that Haven is quite strong and that it has a potential to climb up on the tier ratings, just because it really is a great deck, with Heavenly Knight being so powerful. When you have Summon Temple on the board, so much damage, direct damage with the Storm. And of course Heavenly Aegis is actually really good right now in the meta. If you don't run into dirt runes, typically Aegis is really good, because if you're playing against Dragon can't deal with it. It's like and you can play Aegis early, you can fight board. It's good against portalcraft, because no matter how many artifacts they run into it, they can't kill it, so they have to just try to get the Sephira to kill you once you play your Aegis. So I do think Aegis is quite strong right now, but more so is like Heavenly Knight is just really powerful, and Haven's got quite a bit of clears with John. Both John, you could run Dark John and the Beacon of Salvation, and the new Gemstone Carapace is actually pretty good as a 2-drop amulet as well. So Haven got some pretty good cards, and I do think that they have potential to climbing up the rating. So just an overview on the tiers, I do think this is a really good reflection on what we're seeing on the ladder meta right now for rotation. Definitely these 3 decks are probably the most you will see on ladder, and they definitely have the win rates to prove that they are tier 1 decks. And tier 2 portalcraft, I think that makes sense with with the tier 1 decks being so dominant. Portalcraft kind of have troubles against like Mid Shadow, against Burn Rune. Blood, I think we'll have to wait for another expansion before Blood could get any better than tier 2, just because of what their options are right now and their card pool. And Haven, I think they could climb up a bit on tier 2, but I don't think it will ever go up to a tier 1 deck. But I think so for now, and for I think the rest of January, I think this is pretty much what we're going to be seeing for the tier 1 and tier 2 decks in rotation. I do think probably Aggro Force will probably make it onto this list. Maybe like a Control Force will make it onto this list. So maybe a couple more decks might get added onto the list, but they'll probably just be added onto tier 2. I think the tier 1 is pretty much locked for the month. And then I do think that there's going to be some nerfs that will probably affect the tier listings moving into February. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below what you think about this tier list. Do you think it's well reflective on what we're seeing on ladder right now, or do you think there's going to be any changes at all for the rest of January? Let me know in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification so you know when new videos are up. Give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment down below. As always, guys, I appreciate the support, and thank you so much for watching my video.